So THORSwap v2 has launched. This video is going to be an overview of how to generally use the new interface, how to do cross-chain native swaps, how to add and withdraw liquidity, and generally just walk you through the rest of the updates to the interface. So when you launch the new app at app.thorswap.finance, this will be the first page you now see. You're just taken directly to the native swap portal. And as you can see, it's very straightforward. You're just going to select your from asset and your to asset and go ahead and swap. But first, let's talk wallets. So you can click Connect Wallet here or up at the top and see the wallet options. So you've got a lot of wallet options depending on what exactly you need to connect and what you want to do. And because these are native L1 swaps, you're connecting the real chains. So for example, you can connect TerraStation if you want to use Luna and UST. You could connect MetaMask if you're a MetaMask user using Ethereum. You've got XDeFi, which is a multi-chain browser extension wallet. So you can connect all the chains that are compatible with THORSwap except Doge at the moment. Or you've got Wallet Connect if you use that for Ethereum, Binance, or THORChain. You can also connect Ledger directly with a variety of chains, or you can create or connect a key store wallet, which will work for all compatible chains. And also keep in mind, you can connect multiple wallets at a time because you need something on the send side and the receive side. So let's say you're a MetaMask user and a TerraStation user, and you wanted to swap Ethereum to Luna, you can connect MetaMask and TerraStation at the same time. So for this example, I'm going to use a key store wallet just so I can have everything connected in one place, but keep in mind you've got options depending on what you're already using. So let's connect this key store wallet. We'll just leave all chains selected. You can also just uncheck if you only want to connect certain chains. And we're going to find our key store file and enter our decryption password, unlock. You can see your connected wallets up here under wallet. I can see all my chains that are connected, and these could be multiple wallets. As I mentioned, you could just go and connect another wallet. If you had, say, just connected Bitcoin on Ledger and then wanted to connect MetaMask, for example, you can have multiple different wallets connected at the same time. So let's just run through a couple swaps. Let's swap from some Terra UST to some native Bitcoin. So I've selected the two assets. Just enter how much you want to swap. And if you want more details on the fee breakdown, you can expand this view. The fees when swapping depend on the gas of these native chains. So you're paying an inbound real Terra transaction and then an outbound real Bitcoin transaction. So the fees and the speed will vary based on which actual blockchains you're using, but you'll always see that breakdown here. And you won't need any of the outbound asset or any rune for gas. This is just taken on the back end after your swap goes in. So you'll only need the send side. The only thing to note there is that you'll need the gas asset. So for example, for sending an ERC20, you'll need Ethereum for gas. For sending a BEP2 Binance asset like BUSD, you would need BNB for gas. And for Luna and UST, that will actually depend on which wallet you're using, which gas it defaults to. Technically, it uses Luna for THORChain, but for sending in, your wallet might be defaulting to UST for the fee. So we just go ahead and click swap. We see the breakdown and we confirm. For any transactions on THORSwap, you'll always see it pending up here, and you can expand this view to see exactly what's going on. So you're seeing that the send of UST on the Terra blockchain has already confirmed, and you could track that on the appropriate block explorer for which chain you're using. And then we're waiting on THORChain to see this and for our Bitcoin to be sent back out to us. You can also click this link out to THORyield transaction tracker, and we have a separate video on exactly how to track your transactions. And you'll see it just already confirmed, so we've received our native Bitcoin back in our wallet. So let's do another swap or two, and I'll give some tips on the way, but this is really the same for any swap of any compatible asset on THORSwap. Let's swap some UST for a bit of Rune. I'll just do little bit. Again, we'll see the fees dependent on which chains I'm actually using. And a couple other little features, you'll see that this is loading to refresh just to get the latest pricing. You can also just manually refresh it if you want. Here you can get some more stats out on THORyield about this pair, and there's also the advanced settings. So here you could manually change your max slippage tolerance if you're an advanced user and you know what you're doing with larger swaps and you're willing to accept higher slippage. You can change the gas to spend a little less or more and push your transaction through slower or faster. And there's set a custom recipient, which I'll show you what this does. This actually allows you to only have a from asset connected if you wanted to. So you could just have, say, only Terra Station connected and then just specify a receiving address for whichever chain you're swapping to. So in this case, this is a native Rune address. If this was Bitcoin, you could put a native Bitcoin address. You just only want to do this with a self-custody wallet that you control. It's of course safer to just connect and be sure that you've got everything right. And you don't want to do this with a centralized exchange address because those would require a memo to actually reach your account. So only your own self-custody wallets. So let's go ahead and do this swap. Again, it's pending here. You can see exactly what's happening. UST has been sent in. Now we're waiting on the Rune to come back out. And there it is. I've got my Rune. It's showing under my THORchain wallet address. And again, this would be exactly the same for any of the assets on THORSwap, even synthetic assets, all of the native assets, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Luna, ERC20s, BEP2 assets. Everything follows the exact same steps. So now let's do some liquidity pooling so you can earn yield on all of these native assets paired with Rune in a liquidity pool. So for that, we're just going to head over to deposit. And here you would just select which asset you want to pool. So let's pool some of this UST that we have. And every pool on THORSwap is paired with Rune. So you'll always have 50-50 exposure. So for example, if we add UST, we're adding the equivalent value of Rune, and our LP position is going to be constantly rebalancing to 50-50 depending on the price fluctuation of the assets. So we'll just add liquidity. We'll see the fee breakdown. Just like a swap, we'll see it pending here. Add liquidity, Rune, and UST. Add Rune, add UST. And there it's added. And now on this liquidity page, we're actually seeing our position showing right here. And you can also track this on the liquidity page, and you'll see a link out to THORyield. And we have a separate video on tracking your LP positions. And from here in the future, if we wanted to withdraw this position, we would just click into withdraw, and we would just set what percentage of this LP we wanted to withdraw. You can withdraw only partial if you want to. So if I put 100%, you'll see the breakdown of the two assets we are withdrawing. You can also just withdraw to a single side if you wanted to. So this would withdraw it all in UST or all in Rune or in the same 50-50 that we added it. So let's just go ahead and withdraw this LP. You'll see the transaction fee for this is in Rune. So make sure you have some Rune available still. And let's confirm this withdraw. See it pending just like when we added it. And while that's going, back on depositing liquidity, you also have the option to only add from a single side. So for example, this BTC Rune pool is always 50-50 exposure to Bitcoin and Rune. However, if you want to, you could add to this pool from only Bitcoin or from only Rune. But on the back end, it is still rebalancing to 50-50 exposure in all three methods. So the exposure and the value and the performance is all the same for all three. You're all ending up in the same spot. Just you can skip a step if you only want to add BTC or you only want to add Rune, for example, but you're still having 50-50 exposure in all cases. And also if you're adding from one side, there is slippage because you're essentially swapping half on the back end. And also, if you add from only a single side, then when you withdraw, the same thing will happen in the reverse direction. You'll have the 50-50 exposure, but it will revert back to the way you added. So if you added only Bitcoin, your Bitcoin goes in and you have 50-50 BTC and Rune exposure. But then when you withdraw back out, it's converted back to just BTC. You also have impermanent loss protection on THORSwap and THORchain. So in simple terms, after 100 days, you can't be worse off than if you had just been holding the two assets. So you're still exposed to the volatility of the two, but due to the rebalancing, you can experience something called impermanent loss, where you could have been better off just holding your assets and not liquidity pooling for yield. But in this case, you're protected against that. It accrues 1% protection per day until full 100% protection at 100 days. And this applies for single-sided as well. The snapshot for protection is taken from the 50/50. So that withdrawal has completed and it's back in our wallet. Now, the reason you would want to use these liquidity pools is, of course, because they generate yield. So let's go through the dashboard a little bit. Here you'll get all sorts of stats, the total value locked, total liquidity, active bond, and so on. You can see volume over time and liquidity over time, but you'll see there are the pool stats here. So you'll see some are featured with the APYs listed, and here you'll see a breakdown of all of the pools. This would be another way to get to a particular swap or a particular add liquidity if you wanted to navigate this way as well, but you'll see a breakdown of all the assets and their recent average APY. And once again, just keep in mind, all of these pools are 50/50 with Rune, the native asset of THORchain. So you'll see BTC, this is BTC Rune, 50/50 LP. You'll see UST, this is half Rune, and so on. We've also got a few other functions here under wallet. So this is just a way to manage your wallets that you currently have connected to THORSwap. I can show only what I have connected if I want to. There's also two different views, but this is basically just a way that you can monitor your portfolio. You can send and receive and go straight to swaps from particular assets and just generally use it as a portfolio manager. So for example, I could go to receive and here is my Terra address that I can just copy, or I can send and I would just input a Terra address to send Luna out to my other wallet. And here you can specify a memo if needed for your send. And same thing from the other view. You've also got the list view. Same functions here. You can check your wallet addresses and copy them, your QR codes. You can go out to the block explorers to monitor your various accounts, as well as other tokens that are associated. For example, I've got Thor ERC20, THORSwap token, which is an Ethereum ERC20 token. So I'm seeing that under my Ethereum address. Or for example, under Terra, I've got my UST showing here. And this send tab would be another way of getting to the same place. This is just so I can send any of these assets out, same as going from here. Then just a few more things. There's a link out to Thor Yield. Again, we have a separate video all about using Thor Yield and tracking your LP positions using the transaction tracker. So you can check out that video if you need help with those things. There's also a link here to switch back to the first version of THORSwap if you want to, or if there are certain things that are not yet ready on V2, such as Thor staking. And there's also this support link where you can get other help. So this will take you to the official THORSwap Discord server where you can open official support tickets. Then there's the THORSwap community YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, the documentation, and you can also submit feedback. Lastly, just a couple other little things that you can look at. You can collapse this view if you'd like, head back to the dashboard here. You've, of course, got your other wallet view right here on the side where you can connect other wallets, disconnect, refresh, and we've got this is the native Rune price. We've got gas trackers for all the different chains. This is showing you general status of things on THORchain. And here are some settings so you can customize your experience on THORSwap a bit. For example, there's also a light theme. So you've got everything we just went over, but in light mode, of course. And you can change your language, your base currency, the way the numbers are stylized, some other settings such as hiding certain features if you'd like to, and again, all the links out to our various resources. So that is an overview of the new THORSwap V2, and we'll have a lot more videos coming on particular things, but hopefully this was a good overview to get you started in using V2.